Let's say you're a first-time home buyer getting ready to purchase your first house. Congratulations. We've got 4 things you got to watch out for. 4 things that if you don't do them or don't do them correctly, it could cost you thousands of dollars. And man, that's a terrible way to start out the journey of home ownership. Let's talk about it. This is Steve with the Malone Home Team here at EXP in the Atlanta area. Thanks for tuning in today. If you wouldn't mind helping out, liking the video and subscribing as well, it helps with the YouTube algorithm, the YouTube juice, if you will, the Google juice as the kids call it. It will really help out a lot. So if you do that, say thank you. Here we go. First-time home buyers. It's crazy minefield out there. You're worried about all the things that you could do wrong, but sometimes you get so overwhelmed and so excited about all the good stuff, which there's plenty of it. Sometimes you hit one of those tripwires and it really causes an issue. So I'm going to give you 4 that I really want you to watch out for. These 4 things. With a good agent in your corner, they'll help you navigate these 4 things, but any one of these 4 things could cost you some serious money when it comes to your new home purchase. So here we go, top 4. Let's roll. Let's kick it off by talking about the number 1 thing that I want you to do if you're a new home buyer. I want you to shop your mortgage. Yes, if you're looking to get a mortgage, you definitely don't want to have a lot of credit pulls on your credit, especially from like new car companies. Let's say you go down to Acura and get your credit pulled, and then you go to Target and get your credit pulled, and then go to Best Buy and then go. You don't want that. But what do you want? You want to be able to talk to other companies, other mortgage companies to figure out not only who's going to get you the best rate, but who's going to have the best fees, who's going to have the best customer service, because sometimes paying a little bit more in fees is better in the long run because they're going to give you better customer service, help you navigate some things that are going to happen down the road. Okay, you're not going to be able to do all that if you don't shop the mortgage. Okay, we got some awesome people that we work with. There's a lot of really great loan officers. And I've been doing this for 6 years. There's some really terrible loan officers. I'll be quite honest with you. You need to, don't just take somebody because they're your aunt. Don't just take somebody because your realtor told you to do it. I want you to interview, okay? And the person who is the most professional has the, comparably the best rates, because you can always find somebody who'll do it for cheaper. And at the end, you're going to wish that they didn't because they're going to be terrible, okay? But you can also find somebody who will overcharge you like crazy, okay? So the very first thing I want you to do is to interview multiple mortgage people. Get the best person possible, because not only could they be potentially cheaper, but they're going to save you a lot of money over time. They're also going to save you a lot of headache over time. And as we all know, headache equals time, and time is money. Okay, so interview multiple people, get the best one possible, best rate possible, least amount of headache possible. Interview multiple people. That's going to save you a whole lot of time, a whole lot of money. The second thing that I do not want you to do, because it doesn't cost you a whole boatload of money, skipping the home inspection. We see a lot of buyers do that because they think to themselves, I need to skip the inspection so I can have a better leg up in the negotiating, maybe get the opportunity to win this deal over the person next to me, putting in an offer, things like that. If I waive the inspection, maybe they'll pick our offer. Maybe they will, and maybe that's a bad thing. Inspections are very important. Having an inspector go out there, an actual home inspector who does this for a living, they have their checklist of all the things that they look at. They check all the faucets, they check all the toilets, they check under all the sinks, they check electrical, they check outside, they look at everything in the house. Okay, yes, they can't punch holes in walls and look at wiring and things like that, but everything that they can inspect, they're going to inspect, and usually it's a 2-hour inspection worth every penny of it. Okay. We've bought houses before that we walked away from because of the inspection. Stuff that we didn't see, the inspector saw, and we walked because we could not fix it or ask for money to fix it, okay? That's your opportunity to get stuff fixed before you make it through the due diligence period, okay? You don't want to inherit an AC unit that's getting ready to crash if it could be fixed before you actually close on the house. You don't want to inherit, a sewage backup or something wrong with a septic system, things like that. You don't want to inherit that before you buy the house, and then once you buy the house it's too late. And then oops, there went the septic tank, and it's going to cost you $11,000 to replace the septic tank or the septic field or both or whatever. Okay, inspection, yes, it's going to be a harder time sometimes to get the really hot houses, but with a really good realtor, there are ways that you can work your offer and work your deal to where you can still be protected, but still get the inspection done so you can see what you're getting into. Okay, so the number 2 thing, I don't want you doing this to cost you a whole bunch of money. Don't skip on the inspection. Number 3, I had buyers that almost had this happen to them. It almost cost them $5,000. Thankfully, we were able at the very last minute to swing in and help them. But this happened. I don't want it to happen to you. In the state of Georgia, you have a due diligence period. In that due diligence period, you do your due diligence. You inspect the house. You ask for fixes. You kind of sleep on it, whatever. At the end of the due diligence period, if you do not walk away from the deal, you're going to continue on, but you can no longer get your earnest money back. In the due diligence period, if you terminate the deal, you will get your earnest money back. My people put in $5,000 worth of earnest money. Okay, and the due diligence period ended late on a Saturday night. They reached out to me late on a Saturday night, and they wanted to terminate. And we got it in just under the wire. So the email saying we're going to terminate just under the wire, and we were able to save their $5,000. But I tell you what, I mean, it was like a couple minutes off from to where they almost lost $5,000. You got to look at the contract and really look at the contract throughout the whole contract, because there's going to be little pitfalls that fall like that. But the one that you need to keep in mind is the due diligence period is there for you to do your due diligence in Georgia. Other states have different rules, so talk to your realtor about what the rules are. But the due diligence period, if during that period you want to walk away, you got to let your realtor know, so your realtor can put in the termination and get your earnest money back. If you go past the due diligence window, okay, if it's 7 days, if you get into day 8 and you say, I don't want to buy the house anymore, okay, we don't have to buy the house, but you probably just lost your earnest money. You probably just lost, potentially $5,000. Typically, earnest money is about 1% of the purchase price. There's no hard or fast rule on that, but that's typically what we see. So you could lose 1% of that money. And keep in mind that earnest money goes towards your house. It goes towards the closing. Okay, so it doesn't go to the realtor or the seller or whatever. It goes to your house. But if you're going to terminate, you got to get that money back before the end of due diligence. Okay, so keep that in mind. Watch all the deadlines, especially that due diligence window. If you want to get your earnest money back, that's how you do it. Last thing I want you to think about, all right, this is number 4. We got to keep resale in mind when we talk about buying a house. Okay, even if you're a first-time home buyer, average age of your first-time home buyer in America right now, and as of 2023, is 36 years old. Okay, if you're buying a house at 36 years old, more than likely, before you leave this earth, you're going to sell that house at some point and go to another house, or sell it to rent, or sell it, whatever. You're not going to be in that house for the next 80 years. Okay, at some point, you're going to sell the house. We've got to think about, when we buy the house, can we resell it when we turn around to buy it? Perfect example. Got some buyers. They were looking for a house in the Beaufort area. They found a house in a neighborhood that was really, really nice. The neighborhood entrance was on a downhill slope. They liked the house in the neighborhood, but when you looked on the map and looked in real life and whatever, you realize it's the second or third house into the neighborhood, right on that downhill slope. So by the time we went out and looked at it, we realized, holy cow, these people come into the neighborhood and go flying down that hill down into the rest of the neighborhood. Flying down that hill every single day. And seemingly every couple minutes. At some point, you're going to get tired of having your kids running around and playing in the front yard, because you're going to be nervous about somebody flying down that hill. People are going to look at that when you turn around to try and sell it and say, oh, I don't want this to be on, be as the second or third house in the neighborhood on a downhill slope. Now, if it's the perfect house and you want to buy it, knock yourself out. Just know, turning around to resell it down the road, it's going to be a little bit harder. Okay, so you have to look at this as not only the perfect house for you and for your family and all that stuff, but also look at it from the perspective of, this is an investment. At some point, we're going to turn around and try and sell this investment to put ourselves in a better position financially for our family. Okay, so when you sell it, you got to put yourself in a position to have a much more marketable product. Okay, keep that in mind when you're buying it. Okay, always lean towards things that are neutral. Always lean towards things that are safer for families. Always lean towards things like that. Work with your realtor as far as this house. How hard is this house going to be to resell? Now, you can get one of those houses that you look at online and it's fantastic. It's the back of the neighborhood. It's got trees in the backyard that backs up to a lake. They'll never build anything back there. You go there, there's 500 people in the front yard ready to go in. This is a resellable house. If you buy it and in 3 years you want to resell it, you're going to be able to resell that house. Okay? That's what you want to look for. Look for a house that's not only perfect, but you can sell it down the road. Because if you get a house that you can't sell, it's going to take longer to sell, meaning less money in your pocket when you turn around to sell it, costing you, again, thousands of dollars. So keep that in mind. Even though it's the perfect house for you today, is it going to be the right house for you to sell down the road? We'll stop there at those 4. We could go on for a long time. There's a whole long list of things we can talk about. Some people don't even get pre-approved before they start looking at a house. that could cost you some money because, again, it's going to cost you time. You're going to find the perfect house, put in an offer, you'll get pre-approved down the road. And at the end of the day, you can't be pre-approved because maybe you don't have your W-2s ready or you don't have whatever. And then all of a sudden, that house that you want to put the offer in on, you can't buy and things like that. So you don't want to put yourself in that position, okay? Sometimes people overspend on a house. You can get pre-approved. Let's say in the Atlanta area, you go buy a house, you get pre-approved to $500,000. We always tell our buyers that does not mean you need to buy a $500,000 house. You can get pre-approved to a whole bunch with your money that you have and your budget. Your monthly payment. Where do you want to be? That where you're comfortable. That's where we need to buy. That may only be $400,000. You can be approved up to $5. Doesn't mean you have to spend it. But if you're approved up to $5 and you're looking at $4 because that's what you can afford, much better deal. Because if you go for the $5 because you're pre-approved to $5, it's going to put you in a much harder financial spot. You may not be able to pay off certain debts because you're paying it towards your house, which is great, but you're paying more towards your house at a lower interest rate instead of paying off debt, which is at a higher interest rate. It's going to cost you thousands, and there's all kinds of different things you can do. So if you're a new home buyer and you have questions, you want to talk about some of those things, like what else do we need to watch out for as a first-time home buyer? Hit us up in the messages. You can email me. Emails below as well. And I'm all over social. You can find me at Malone Home Team, Milone Home Team, Instagram. We're on that new Threads thing. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere. Come find us. If you got questions, let me know. Steve, take care. Bye.